everybody, it's Janet Rockware from Moonkusser Art. This is my follow-up video from my last one, Geode Freeform tutorial, where I created sea ice. And I really liked the process so much. I thought the mold came out so nicely that it was worth giving it a try and see if we couldn't reuse that mold and create another piece. You might have an idea how it's going to turn out because in the beginning I show you the piece that I just finished that I titled Geode Violet. I also wanted to thank everybody for all their comments and likes. It really helps me to understand how I can help you guys learn processes, and I just had so much fun doing it. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get started on this one. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to put a little bit of caulk on the side that's going to face the mat. And it's real clean. I'm moving it to a spot on the mat that doesn't have any of that wobbling warping because I really want to try to encourage this to work well and get that to stick tight. If I'm going to reuse a mold, I want to give it every opportunity to work well. So I'm just taking a little bit of silicone on my fingertip. I tried using it right from the tube, but it was hard to do. So I put it on my fingertip and I'm just spreading a real thin layer along that bottom edge. And I'm going all the way around, being careful, looking at it, making sure I'm getting it all covered. Now I'm going to just flip this over. Again, it's on a spot where there's no wobbles on the mat. So I'm going to lay it down and then I'm going to press it firmly against that mat to try to get that caulk to get good adhesion. I don't want to have any of the resin sliding out from underneath the mold where I didn't do a very good job. And it kind of came out a little bit in some spots, but that's okay because it's important for me that it has a tight seal and doesn't allow the resin to come out. So I'm going to give it a go. Here are my supplies that I'm going to use. I'm going to go with purples today. These are just some beads that I bought at Michael's, real inexpensive, of course with a coupon. And here are my color choices. What I do with my leftover resin when I'm working on other projects, if I have a little bit of clear, I grab one of the colors and mix that up, and I just pour a little puddle right on my plastic tabletop, and those pop off, and then I have good ideas for colors. So yeah, we've got some nice purples there. I'm going to put a little bit of glitter in. This is this glitter is like I don't know what they call it. It's kind of like it's not transparent at all, but it's not. It's like irregular, so it's kind of cut funky. But anyway, that's what I'm going to put in, and that's from Recollections again at Michael's. I have some airbrush paint, Deco Art, Folk Art, and Liquitex ink, and I have the purple glass vase filler from Michael's. So let's see what we get. I've mixed up my resin. Again, I use Promarine. Works well for me. I'm not looking to use this in any type of a food application, so it works good. You can see there's quite a few bubbles in there, but that's all right because it's going to get torched out. I've mixed up 3 ounces, and it's all combined. I'm happy with the way that is. Now, I wanted to just real quick talk about this one again. When I did this, freeform geode. It was my first one, and I was concerned about how it would hold up if it was just one layer. So I knew right from the get-go that I was going to do 2 layers. And I want to let you know it's totally cured now. So it is rock hard, but I would definitely do 2 layers. It just gives it a little bit more strength. And I'm going to use it like a window catcher, sun catcher. And yeah, that's why I wanted it thicker. I didn't want it, because potentially in the glass, it could warm up in sunlight. And so that was my thinking in the process. But anyhow, I would recommend doing 2 layers if that's the type of application, or if you're looking to stand it in like a plate stand. Again, I would recommend 2 layers because it really just gives it that much more strength. So think about that when you all are trying to figure out what it is you're going to do. So again, here's my form. It's a same mat. The mat has some wobbles to it from the first one that I poured, but you know, I'm figuring I'm going to get some marks on it here. I did move it to an area that I hadn't used before, but you know, we're just trying to figure this out. So here are the little glass beads that I got from Michael's. I'm going to use those as my center focal. And I have my glass filler, vase filler. And just like I did the last time, I'm going to just kind of push that in around at the edge. I really like the effect that it gave me. It just sets it off. That sparkle in the light really catches well. And yeah, it's not too expensive, so it gives it just a nice little something. And just going to sprinkle this in, so bear with me. I had so much fun doing that last one. And again, because I wanted to see, you know, can you keep reusing these? I don't know how many times you can use them, but the one that I did, again, it was 3 layers of the caulk, and then once all those layers were set up, I went back and kind of filled it in with more caulk. I'm just moving these pieces of glass to the edge. So they're going to shift on me when I start pouring the resin, but I want to start out a little bit where I want to be. So anyway, I had taken my finger and just put caulk right on it and smoothed it right in there. And that kind of sealed everything up real good. So I'm happy with how that process worked. All right, so again, this is clear. You can see those bubbles are just all through there, rising right up. And I'm just gonna drizzle some clear resin right over top of these beads. I checked them to make sure that they don't go higher than my mold, because although I don't mind having a little bit of different levels in my cured resin, I don't want it to be terribly 3-dimensional. Again, my idea is these are going to be sun catchers for me. So that's where I'm coming from on that. Also, one of the things that I usually do is I make up my colors as I want them. But for this one, I wanted to show you guys that, yeah, you can just use, you know, paint. You don't have to custom mix, and it doesn't have to be expensive. This is airbrush paint that I got at Michael's. My store was discontinuing them, so they had them in the discount rack. And I would tell you to try different kinds of paint because you can get some pretty cool effects. And I like this one. It has a really nice pearl to it, and you don't need a lot of color. It's really intense. So I shook it really well. I'm just gonna dip the tip of my stick in there because, again, I don't want it to be so intense that it's not transparent. So it's just giving me a real nice pearl purple, and you can look at, when you do like that, you can see through your resin and you can determine how intense that color is going to be. So I wanted this one to really pop. It's a dark purple, so it's going to pop, but it's also going to be transparent. And I know that because when I made up my test pour, I don't think you guys can see. Maybe you can. It's hard for me to tell because I'm in front of the camera. But I can see, when I hold it up to the light, I can see through it. So, again, that's my hope. This is probably not as intense as that puddle that I had poured, but that's what I'm going to do for that one. This is Folk Art. Again, doesn't have to be expensive. You can get these, yeah, I go everywhere to get my paint. I think I got Folk Art from, yeah, what's the name of the store? It's not Michael's. Hobby Lobby, that's who I'm thinking about. So it's a metallic plum. And let's get some resin in there. Okay, doesn't take much. And again, this is gonna let the light come through. It's really, this is probably one of my favorite colors by them. It's got almost like a bluish tint coming through there. It's so, so pretty. I don't know how the color looks on the camera, but it's yummy. Nice one. All right. And this one is really light, very transparent. So let's get a little bit of resin in the cup. One of the other things I learned from my last pour was don't move it. When I moved it, the spot that I had moved it to cure was not level. And even though I thought I had some really nice effects from when I poured it, it moved because it was on a little bit of an angle. So it moved and things swirled, and it turned out great. I'm still very pleased with it, but I'm not going to move this one, because I want this one to stay just like it is. But the other thing that I learned is I can always make it darker. You can't make it lighter. So with that in mind, that's why I'm doing just clear here, because I know the colors are going to push. That's what they do. I'm going to add a little bit more to that purple. Yeah. pretty. All right, actually now I want a little bit more color back in there, so let's get that. Yeah, looks good. Really, really pretty. Okay. Just gonna use up my resin here so that I have enough to work with. Always, I try to keep a little bit of clear in case I got some great idea. And I also need my silver. So one more, this is Liquitex. This is an acrylic ink. And yeah, they work really good in resin. You don't need a lot to get your color. And this is just to add a little bit of detail. So let's get that in there. Okay. See, just all I did was put 2 drops in there. And that's just to have something to add a little bit more interest in there. And I know it looks really light in the cup, if you guys can see that. It's like, well, there's barely anything there, but that's okay, because that's exactly what I want. I don't want it to overtake what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's start getting some color down. Yeah. So this is the lighter of my purples, and I'm gonna start with that around that clear. Oh, looks nice. Really picks up the purple in those stones. Again, those are just beads for making necklaces. I guess it's in the jewelry making aisle at Michael's. Michael's runs lots of ads for, you know, discounts. If you're not a Michael's Rewards member, go get yourself a Michael's Rewards membership. They'll send you emails probably every single day. And it's a really good program. If you're doing a lot of artwork, you can save by being a member. When I was getting the beads, they had, I think they were running a program that they were 50% off, and then I had a coupon that I could get 20% off of that. And so even if it was on sale, you could still get more off. So, okay, I'll do that. All right. So I'm just pinching the cup so that I get a little spout. These are tiny little bathroom paper cups. And I'm okay with it doing these little wobbles as I pour it out, because that's how you get effects from it. And the last time I used this, I measured out, I think I had 4 ounces of resin, and I had too much left over, which would be why I did my test pours, would be from something like that. So I cut back the amount I'm using, because now I know from my first time around that the 3 ounces is really good for my first layer. So again, I want the edges dark, so I'm pouring my darkest color at the edge of my mold, covering over that glass. It's going to settle in. Resin wants to level itself out. That's how this stuff works. And but I want it to drop down with that dark purple close to the edge, because for me it's going to kind of frame it. And just keep going carefully around. Let it fill in. Now it's early morning here. I'm not sure. I might try doing a second layer late in the afternoon. I'm trying to see what my work time is, but the other part about this is the thicker you go, the resin is warmer. So you can't go too thick, because what'll happen is the resin can't get the heat out as well. Actually, I think I'll do that pale pink up against that. Plum, I should say. This is that plum color. So let's layering down back here. So you have to be careful. Again, that's why I did the 2 layers. You can't pour one. It's not a casting resin. Casting resins, you can pour them. But Pro-Marine, I'm using the bar top, and yeah, you can't pour it too thick. So doing it in layers is fine. That it can do. Okay. Let's get this. That's my dark purple. Now we'll go with this one. Okay. And go back with my dark purple. Play ring around the rosy, I guess. I don't know. Alright, here we go. Should be able to go completely around with what I got in the cup. You can see, I think you could see, that it's just flowing and pushing towards the center. When I pour it at the edge like that, again, it's moving where it can get to where it's going to be level. And that's where you get these effects. They push it up against the different colors, the rings, and that's how you get that. All right. That's good. This plum out here. That's good. Now, can you guys see the air bubbles in there? I don't want to move the camera because my hands are a little bit gunky, but there's, like, especially on that plum. See all the little tiny bubbles there? That's because the resin's starting to warm up. It wants to start doing its thing. I mix my resin for about 3 minutes. I scrape my sides. So careful about that. once you have a mix that doesn't go good for you, which I've had, you get a little more careful with what you're doing. You'll get a feel for your timing. I mix my resin for 3 minutes, and if you're adding acrylic paints, it can really change the way the resin sets up. So watch for that. It can actually set your resin off faster, and you'll get just one big lump of resin in your cup. Yep. This one's pretty much done. See a couple of spots where I want to try and get a little bit more color in there. That's good. Okay, and then I have my silver. You guys are probably wondering if I forgot about my silver. I didn't. So I'm just drizzling this. When I get my torch, that's when these are gonna move for me. So I'm just adding silver in here, any old way, because it's gonna go where it wants to go. Can't try to over control it. It's looking good. All right, let's get that torch. So I'm just using my creme brulee torch. Yeah, I bought it on Amazon a couple years back, and it's showing some wear and tear. It's got some where I grabbed it with resin on my hand, and oh well. Still works fine. So let's get those. Turn my flame down short, because I don't want to burn my mold. There. And there go the bubbles. Again, I'm trying my best not to hit that mold. And the other thing I did last time is, because it's on the thick side, I came back every 10 minutes and torched the bubbles out. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do again today, is I'm gonna wait and come back to it, torch it, and keep maintaining it so that the bubbles keep popping out. All right, that's it. I'll see you in 10 minutes. All right, so it's been sitting here curing and popping bubbles. I have not torched it for the second time yet, but I wanted to bring the camera down here. I don't know if you guys can see. Sorry about my hand shaking. Maybe where there's a reflection. Yeah, a little bit. If you guys can see that little tiny twinkle in there, it's not the glitter, it's the resin releasing the gases from my stirring. And those little tiny bubbles keep working their way up, which is what we want. But I'm going to hit it with the torch again to encourage those little buggers to get out of there. It's not terrible if they stay in these pieces. It's not going to harm it in any way, but I just wanted to show you that because I can see it, and you know. What do you think? It's looking pretty good, huh? See those little bubbles? Here they go. Popping out. Yeah, that's good. And you can see them there. It's like purple soup. Okay, Let me go get the torch. Let's get those bubbles out of there. Again, turning my flame down. I don't need a lot of heat. And you can see that flash when the air releases out. And that's it. And again, I'm going to do one more hit on it, but you can see how the silver has moved? And it's giving nice effects through there. Looks good. Okay, so it's 9 hours later. I've mixed up 3 ounces of resin and I'm gonna quickly pour those out. I sped up the film on this because it's pretty much the same process, just building rings around there and putting the dark purple at the edges because I want that intensity there, and that's also going to be what shows on the sides. So we just keep going around, same process. That 3 ounces, the total depth of this piece turned out to be about ½ inch thick. So gives you an idea, pouring about 1/4 inch with the Pro Marine works well. The piece is not cured, but it's ready to go. Got a couple of projects going on my mat here. So here's the unveiling of the reuse of the freeform geode mold. So if you remember, my first one was the teal colored one. I titled it Sea Ice, and this time I went with purples because, yep, I love purple, and it looks pretty good. I didn't get anything flowing out from underneath the edges, so I was very pleased with that. And I got some pretty color in here. So let me pop you into the tripod and let's take a look at what this looks like. Okay, so we're gonna lift it off the sheet, and just like the last time, once you get the edge lifted, it just comes right off. Now, again, I've got that wobbling to the mat, I guess from the heat, but I don't know how to avoid that unless it's a different kind of mat. So anyway, there's the piece, and let's see how just comes right off, just like last time. It just falls right off, really. I mean, it's great. It just releases. Presto, it's out. So it's out, and let's take a look at that mold. Looks great. I don't see any wear and tear on it. Let's look at the back side, because that's what I had done before, was I had put a layer of caulk on there when I went to reuse it, and yeah, stuck it down. And again, you get a little bit of a flap here. I hope you guys can see that. Let's see. See that little flap? I don't know how to avoid that, but it doesn't really mess me up because I'm going to Dremel the sides. So there's that, and here's the piece. Now these stones were rounded, and I wanted to kind of make it as level as possible. So again, this is 2 layers of resin. I did it in 2 layers because I don't want it to overheat and give me any trouble. The resin that I use, it's Pro Marine, so it's not a casting resin, but it gives me a real nice shiny finish, which I like. And I just wanted to reuse that mold, really, because the last one I had so much fun doing it and the mold looked so good. I thought, well, yeah, why not try? And it works. So if you're careful, you know, again, I did a lot to make that mold the first time around. 3 layers, and I had gone in and smoothed in some more caulking to really fill those gaps. So it's minimal as far as variations on the side, but again, there's sharp spots. So I'm gonna trim those up. Let me move you guys over to the art table and we'll get a close-up look at it there. So, again, there's the mold, and there's the second freeform geode out of the mold. Sorry about the reflection. Trying to... There. Reflection's good because that means it's smooth and shiny. So I like that. And it picks up the flash of the glitter that I put in there. And you guys can see those glass beads in there. So I'm happy with it. Let's see if I can't get this on camera. Can you guys see these jagged edges? Boy, it's so hard to see it. Right along there. See that right there? That's the kind of stuff that I'm not sure how to avoid it. Because what's happening is, you know, when your resin is coming up to the edge and you're pouring in, it kind of gets that lip on there. So that's unavoidable, as far as I know. Anybody knows how to avoid it, let me know. So just like last time, I'm going to take the Dremel and I'm going to run it along these sides, clean those up, sand them down, and then what I do is I finish it off with just a little bit of resin on my fingertip on my gloved hand, and I just smooth it right on. And that's all it takes. Let it cure and it's good to go. She's pretty. So in an effort to show you guys exactly what you can expect, I wanted to give you a quick look at the mat. I've done several projects now on here. I made some coasters, made another freeform mold, and there's a lot of wobbles going on. It hasn't affected anything I've been doing, but I want you all to understand what you can expect, and I hope this helps you guys in making decisions if you want to try using this fondant mat or get something else. And here's the final product. I didn't show you the dremeling of the edge or the putting of the resin around the edge with a gloved finger, but here it is all finished up. I hope you guys are enjoying my process, and I really do hope you give it a try. I want to show you also the back side of the geode piece because it's not as shiny. It's going to be from resting on the mat, and this is a really shiny mat. but it does give you just a little bit of a satin finish. But it's okay by me. Enjoy!